is one of the all-time greats. 23 years in Major League Baseball, every single one of them with the Baltimore Orioles, where he won 2 World Series and World Series MVP and amassed 16 Gold Gloves today. Still the most for a third baseman in Major League Baseball history. Thrilled to have here on the Rich Eisen Show none other than Brooks Robinson. How are you, Brooks?
I'm doing fine. Rich, how you doing?
I am doing great. So where have I caught you? Where have I found you?
I'm in a car here going to Washington to do something for the Hall of Fame. It's I think it's a congressman and senators or whoever wants to be a baseball fan that we're going to meet at the Rayburn House, I guess, and I'm going to talk a little baseball with them.
Oh, so you're not running for Congress, right, Brooks? You're not
No,
getting...
I'm not running for Congress, I'll tell you that. Not after I see what's happening all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need more Brooks Robinson, I think, in our discourse.
I never thought about that, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I think you found your right niche. So, Brooks, who's the best home run hitter you ever saw? Who's the best?
Best home run hitter I ever saw. Probably Harmon Killebrew comes to mind right away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I played against him a number of years, but you got, the 500 home run hitters, there's probably 9 or 10 of them. That's I never got to see Bonds play that much. I never saw him play actually personally in person, but I'd say Killebrew is the guy. He had more home runs against the Orioles than anyone else.
And I mean, that's some pretty high praise for Harmon Killebrew, Brooks, because, you know, your career spanned Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron. I mean, that's considerable praise for Harmon Killebrew out of everybody that you saw hit the ball out of the park.
I got to see him play more, but I did play against Hank Aaron and Willie in all-star games, and they were just unbelievable players. I mean, when you talk about being able to do everything the game demands, like hit with power, run, field, and throw, they could do it all. And, of course, I played with someone who I think should be right there with all of them, and that's Frank Robinson. He doesn't get a lot of notice for that, but he's just as good as I've seen anyone become.
Yeah, we had Jim Palmer on the show a couple weeks ago, Brooks, and he mentioned Frank Robinson as one of the all-time greats that he ever got to play with, and that includes you in the conversation as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but Frank, we got him in a trade from Cincinnati, and he just put us over the hump. I mean, we got in 4 World Series with him and a couple of Eastern Division champions, but he was as good as it gets.
What was it like being in those midsummer classics, Brooks? What was it like in the All-Star game back in your day, back in the day? Can you just walk me through what it was like to walk into the American League clubhouse for one of those?
Well, it was unbelievable. My first year, Rich, was 1960. I was the backup to Frank Malzone. And on that team was Ted Williams, who, man, I admired this guy I was a real baseball fan growing up, but Ted Williams was on that team, and Mantle and those guys, and I was happy to get into the game, but I really enjoyed it. It was just a great moment for me, and I got to play in 16 or 17. We didn't win many. I think we won 2 games and tied 1, but I was the MVP on a losing team in 1966 out in St. Louis. But it was a thrill. I mean, they wanted to beat us, and we wanted to beat them. That was it. We got a lot of guff from not winning many games, but they were all close games and a lot of crazy things happening. But it was just a thrill to be a part of it.
Yeah, now I'm on the phone with Brooks Robinson, Hall of Famer, class of 1983 in Cooperstown, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show as he's on the way to a Hall of Fame event, as a matter of fact. Now today, the Major League Baseball puts home field advantage of the World Series on the line for the All-Star game to make it interesting, in a way. Brooks,
well,
you think about
it makes it interesting, but I don't think that's a good way to do it. I mean, these guys are today, they're having more fun than we did. I mean, we were more serious than they were, and they go out and put on a show, and that's really what it's about. It's for the fans, and that's probably the way it ought to be, but there ought to be a better way to determine all home series, home Series and for the World Series.
Right. When you say that the players today have more fun than you, I don't know if you're aware or if you are where you're heading in Washington, D.C. Bryce Harper this week of the Washington Nationals, or last week, talked about how the game of baseball is tired, that it does not allow the personalities of players to come out because of the reserved nature of the sport and because of some of the unwritten rules of baseball. How did you receive that take,
Well,
Brooks?
I enjoyed reading that piece from Bryce. I mean, they have as much fun as I've ever seen anyone have. I mean, I know Goose Gossage got in the news for talking about Batista when he threw the bat up in the air, but it's gone back. It started with Charlie Finley with all the uniforms, different uniforms like that, but I think they're having a lot of fun. I know that I would have enjoyed striking out and going back to the bench saying, well, I struck out, but I still made $10,000 when I at bat, So that's kind of the way I think I would approach that.
So, yes, the feathered mattress, if you will, it gives you a soft landing, essentially what you're saying, Brooks.
That's right. But, Rich, it's a great game. I mean, you can see by the attendance we have, and I think it's as far as the playoffs and things like that, it might be a little unfair, but it gets a few more teams involved, and I think that's a great thing.
So who do you like watching in today's game?
I get a lot of Washington games and Oriole games. That's about the only teams I really watch. I watch. I really like Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
Plays for Washington, although he's been hurt a lot, but I think he's a terrific player. I got to know him when I went down to speak at the University of January. He was playing there, but Ryan, but he's a terrific-looking player, and, they got a good club. I'm happy for Dusty getting that job. I think he's going to be a real plus for him.
And what do you think of the current state of the Orioles, Brooks Robinson?
I think the state of the Orioles, they're doing what they can to try to get a better club there. They're going to hit some home runs. They've got a great ballpark to hit home runs in, and they just need pitching. And so far, they haven't gotten any pitching. It's been we lost a couple of guys, I guess, to free agency. But anyway, I think they have to have the pitching if they're going to win. But they got a pretty dynamic ball club when it comes to hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
If you could change a rule in baseball, what would it be? What do you think?
If I could change a rule in baseball, what would it be?
Uh-huh.
Well, I would like to try to speed up the games as much as anyone else. That's been something a format that the commissioners been trying to emphasize, and I think there's a good way there's ways to make the game faster, but it all comes down to the pitchers. And the way it's pitching now, they heard old expression, just give me 5 and fly, and that's the way it has been. They pitch 5 innings, then they have 4 or 5 relievers. Well, you're never going to get fast games if you do that, but that's the way the game's played now.
What's your relationship with Pete Rose, Brooks?
I like Pete. I've been with him a few times, and it's just too bad. I really feel that I've always thought that Giamatti, I think he told Pete, just keep your nose clean for a few years, and then you'll be back getting in the Hall of Fame. That's what I think he told him. But anyway, Giamatti died, and a lot of people blame that on Pete. But I've been with Pete. He's a tough guy, I'll tell you. But it doesn't look like he's going to get in the Hall of Fame. At least even all the guys with doing the drugs, eventually, Rich, after I die, they'll be getting into the Hall of Fame some way, like Bonds and, he was never proven to do drugs, but Bonds and Clemens and those guys, they're going to get in the Hall of Fame sooner or later.
You think so? Because Bonds, I guess, amassed enough votes this year to make people think it's possible. But all the other guys from the so-called steroid era, it's going to be a tough slog for him. But you think they're going to get in at some point?
You know why it's going to be a tough guy? Because now I think it takes 10 years. And after 10 years, if you don't get in, you go flip over into the veterans. I think that's the way it is.
Yes.
And if they get into the veterans, they're going to have Veterans Committee. They're going to have a hard time getting into the Hall of Fame through the Veterans Group.
Well, Brooks, look, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been a long time since we chatted. I met you a couple times. The first time was at a golf tournament in Orlando, Florida, where you were kind enough to be very kind to me when I called the front desk, wondering where the pickup was for me, and I asked for somebody from the golf tournament to get on the phone, and they put you on the phone. And I think I read you the riot act, Brooks, and you were so nice to me. I'm sorry about that. Years later.
Well, it's not the first time I've been read the riot act.
Well, did Earl Weaver ever read you the riot act, Brooks?
Yeah, he hollered at me a few times. Most of us just kind of let it go in one ear and out the other. He did, usually when we were winning, that's when it happened. But when we were losing, well, he was telling us, how do these guys beat you? You're better than they are. Go get them,
Yeah? But I would think so he would still get on you, Brooks? Earl would get on you?
Well, once in a while. I remember he told me I was too old to play, or at least it came out in the papers. And I didn't respond to it, but I almost called back to the paper and said, look, if anyone's too old, it's Earl Weaver. But I didn't do it.
You thought the better of it. You took the high road, Brooks. That's what you've been about your whole life. Thanks for calling in, Brooks. I appreciate it.
Okay, Rich, nice to talk to you, and I hope we run into one another.
I would love that again. I would love that. You bet.
All
that
right.
is Brooks Robinson.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.